Hello, my friends. Welcome to Talk to Me Tuesday for Tuesday, July 8th, 2025. This is Jennifer. Right off the top, I need to tell you guys that my family and my friends are safe. I am in the Texas Hill Country. I live in Austin, and we are on the very outer edges of where all the horrible flooding in Texas has happened. I'm not going to talk about that too much because I don't want to take away from any of the things that are going on that need to happen to help the people that have been affected. I will put some resources in the description. So if you're interested in helping, you can find some places that are verified locally for making donations and that kind of thing. My sort of accidental theme this week is repair and reuse. You guys know that I am starting a new project where I'm going to be repairing an old quilt that belongs to my husband. So I'm definitely going to talk to you guys about that today. The first thing I want to share with you is a finish that I had last week, and then I will talk about what else is going on. So some time ago, my husband lost his switch case and it just disappeared. It took months to find it. I think it was missing for almost a year. And when he finally found it, it was covered in dust and cat hair. And really what the problem was is it was made of sort of a navy blue felt. It was some sort of felty material, and he had put it on a shelf and it disappeared into a shadow. So he asked me if I could make it more visible, but also more his style. And if you guys have been watching me for any length of time, you know that I've made a million khaki bags for my husband, just like accessory bags, all kinds of things. Anyway, so I pulled out his bag of fabric. I took that switch case, which looked like this. I started deconstructing it. I used it to make myself a little guide. So this is what the original case would have looked like. So it has little pockets for the games, and then it just folds over like this. It's really simple with Velcro right here. What I did was take one long piece of the khaki fabric, and I used it to make sort of a pillowcase cover for this case. And this is what I ended up coming up with. And this was a fun little addition that I couldn't resist. Since I've been learning more how to use my Brilliant software, I found a diagram of the original NES controller, and I just did a line drawing of it for embroidery and added that on here. I completely reused the original case except for the sides because I just couldn't get them back in. So this came from the original piece, and then all of the Velcro came from the original one. This came from the original case, and then instead of using batting or stabilizer or whatever, I used the original case inside after liberal use of a lint roller. I ended up putting black elastic with a little bit of khaki on the top on the sides, just because I found it impossible to reuse the original sides. So works great. He's been using it ever since, and I just borrowed it back so I could show it to you guys. We definitely have to talk about the t-shirt quilt project. First thing I did was remove the binding. So here is the binding of the t-shirt quilt, and some of it isn't terrible, but there's quite a lot of it that has, let's see if I can get this unfolded for you. You can see here, it's got holes all the way around, and that's just from love and wear. So I will not be reusing that. I will be replacing both the back fabric and the binding fabric. While I was working on this, I was in my living room, and as soon as I got the binding off, batting just started falling out of the edges, and I couldn't keep working on it in the living room. So I actually took it outside and shook it because the back door was right there, and then had to pick up all this batting. But I rolled it up and took it upstairs and then proceeded to just leave it for a couple of days. When I came back in the sewing room, I was like, okay, I'm gonna spread this out. It's probably gonna take me a couple of weeks to get all of this quilting out. And then this happened. So it ended up taking me less than 20 minutes to completely get the quilting out of this. It took me probably longer to pick the threads off of the top of the quilt than it did to actually remove the quilting. I still just watching that clip can't believe that that is what happened. I pulled it taut to start pulling stitches, and as I did, it just peeled apart. So the top and the back have been separated. I have cleaned the top. I have gotten all the little bits and pieces and fuzz and all of that out from the inside of the top. I need to replace all of the stabilizer. The stabilizer completely failed. I used I think it was a Pellon Trico stabilizer. The adhesive fell out of the quilt top when I pulled it apart. It came out as like sand. I had it all over everything. It was all over my floor. It was all over me. It was inside of my shoes. But the stabilizer is not at all stuck to the t-shirts anymore. So the first thing up is I'm going to replace that stabilizer, and then I'm going to start doing repairs. That hasn't happened yet because I still have to get stabilizer, but that is already kind of in progress. This is the quilt batting that I removed, and you can see that it is quite a mess because the quilting had mostly come out all over this quilt. The batting didn't have anything to hold it in place, and from being washed and used, it just disintegrated. So obviously I cannot reuse the batting. So that's on hold for now until I get stabilizer, and then I'll start those repairs. Came up that my son has a bag that he has been using since he was 9 years old. He is 27. I made this for him for, I think, fourth grade. I'm pretty sure this was what he took fourth grade. Back in the day, I used to make bags to sell. And one of the things I made were messenger bags. And I made so many of these. I made all the outsides out of reclaimed fabric, often making the front out of a quilt block. And so this was one that I made for him. Again, this was fourth grade. So this is the actual problem, is how short this strap is. He does not like buckles, and he doesn't want an adjustable strap. So I'm actually going to take this strap off and replace it, because we figured out, I think that's 13 inches too short for his adult size, where when he was 9, this was a crossbody bag. I had him go through my stash. We found this, which is a black denim, which is very close. This is a blue denim with like a black overlay. So a black denim, which is very close. And this is what he picked for the inside lining, because it's black and silver like the front of the bag, and I'm perfectly happy with that. I think that'll be a fun little addition. But this is the bag that my kid has carried for gaming since middle school. So he plays all kinds of like Dungeons and Dragons and that kind of thing. And this has traveled with him many, many miles. I did ask if he wanted me to repair where some of the fabric just disintegrated from the paper piece block, and he said no. So I will not be repairing this. He wants that to keep its character and just show the mileage, but it does need to be longer, and I need to repair the lining. This bag is from 2006, so this X-Men block predates Fandom and Stitches by at least 5 years. I have a couple of other repairs coming up. I have a pair of pajama pants that my oldest child has left here for me to fix, and then I have my favorite jeans have had a catastrophic crotch blowout, which I am planning to fix because they fit me better than any jeans I've ever owned. I have 2 pairs of them. The second one I hunted down online, and I have literally worn them till they're falling apart. I've repaired them before, and I replaced the zipper in these jeans. I love them so much. So my plan is to actually remove the seam in the crotch, and I'm going to piece new fabric in because I need these jeans to last longer, and I don't want to give them up. They aren't made anymore. I haven't been able to find any more. I search for them regularly online, and I look for them every time I go thrifting. So I'm just going to do everything I can to keep these alive. I think that's going to be about it for show and tell. I want to thank you guys for just your well wishes and checking on me. Quite a few people reached out just to make sure we were okay. And I want to thank you guys for subscribing as well. I just rolled over 5,000 subscribers, and I have been on YouTube since 2006. So I mentioned previously my channel just turned 18. So at this rate, I will have 100,000 subscribers in 360 years. So obviously I'm not doing it for the numbers or the algorithm or this or anything else. I'm just doing it for me, and I'm doing it for you. And I really, really appreciate that you watch. I do have an idea for how to celebrate getting to 5,000 subscribers, but I will save that for next week. You guys have a safe week. Have a crafty week. I'll see you next week. Bye.